The room was enormous. It was the meeting hall of the Galactic Council, filled with representatives from the most powerful species in the galaxy. Some were tall, with glowing eyes and shimmering skin. Others were short, with multiple limbs and sharp claws. They all had one thing in common: superior technology and advanced combat skills. At least, that's what they thought. In the center of the room stood Commander Ellis, the representative from Earth. He was a tall, calm man with sharp eyes. He looked at the faces of the alien leaders around him. Some were staring, others smirking, waiting for him to speak. Ellis cleared his throat and began to present Earth's battle strategies. We have faced many challenges on Earth, from ancient wars to modern battles. We've learned that the best way to win is not just by using strength, but by using strategy. He continued, showing holograms of Earth's battle plans. The plans involved clever traps, surprise attacks, and guerrilla warfare, tactics humans had used for thousands of years. But as soon as he began explaining, quiet chuckles filled the room. One of the alien leaders, General Varrock of the Tevan species, interrupted him. Varrock was massive, with thick, armored skin and a deep voice that echoed through the hall. Traps. Surprise attacks. Is this some kind of joke, human? Do you think we fight with stones and sticks like your primitive ancestors? The room erupted in laughter. More alien leaders joined in, mocking Earth's strategies. Commander Ellis stood silently, watching them. He had expected this reaction, but it didn't make it any easier to listen to. Still, he remained calm. He knew something they didn't. The laughter continued for a few moments. Another leader, Captain Rylak of the Katarnan fleet, leaned back in his chair, his reptilian face twisted into a grin. Your planet's history is filled with wars, yes, but you fight on land, not in space. What could you possibly teach us about intergalactic warfare? Ellis nodded slowly. He wasn't here to argue with them. He was here to make them see the truth, even if it would take time. I understand your doubts, he said, but humans have survived through adaptability. We have fought enemies that were bigger, stronger, and more advanced than us. Yet, we survived. We've mastered the art of using what we have, no matter how limited it may seem. Varrock rolled his eyes. We don't need your help, Earth. Our fleets are equipped with the most advanced weapons in the galaxy. Your planet's tricks won't work against enemies like ours. Ellis remained calm. He knew how powerful these alien leaders thought they were. Their fleets had lasers that could cut through planets, shields that could deflect any attack, and armies that were unmatched in size. But there was something they didn't understand. Wars aren't always won with advanced technology. Sometimes, it's the smartest strategy that makes the difference. Technology isn't everything, Ellis replied. In war, knowing your enemy's weaknesses and using the element of surprise can be far more powerful than any weapon. The council leader, a tall and elegant alien named High Chancellor Zoreth, raised her hand to silence the room. She was more composed than the others, but still doubtful. Your strategies may have worked on Earth, Commander Ellis, but this is a different kind of war. The enemies we face now are not like anything your planet has seen before. Do you really think your outdated methods will help us? Ellis met her gaze. He could see the doubt in her eyes. The Galactic Council had been fighting an alien species that was smarter and more adaptable than anything they had encountered before. Their advanced fleets were struggling, yet they refused to admit it. The Council believed that with more force and better technology, they could still win. I believe our methods are exactly what you need, Ellis said firmly. Humans know how to adapt to enemies who seem impossible to defeat. We've done it before, and we can help you do it now. Zoreth gave a slight nod, though she still seemed unconvinced. We will see, she said. But for now, Earth's role in this war will remain small. You will be assigned to a minor fleet. Let's see if your strategies can handle even that. The meeting was over. As Ellis left the hall, the sound of laughter and whispers followed him. The Galactic Council didn't believe in Earth's abilities. But deep down, Ellis knew it wouldn't be long before they realized the truth. Humans were more than just another primitive species. They were survivors. And in war, survivors always have the last laugh. A war gone wrong. The war was not going as planned. The Galactic Council, made up of the most powerful species in the galaxy, had thought they could easily crush their enemy, the Drakari. The Drakari were a mysterious alien race, known for their quick hit-and-run tactics and their ability to adapt to any situation. The Council had sent their best fleets to fight them, confident that their advanced technology would bring victory. But things were starting to fall apart. On the edge of a distant star system, the Council's fleets were in chaos. Massive warships flew through space, firing lasers and missiles, but the Drakari ships moved like shadows, appearing and disappearing in the blink of an eye. No matter how much firepower the Council used, they couldn't land a decisive blow. It was like trying to catch smoke with your bare hands. Admiral Creel, one of the Council's top commanders, stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Iron Claw, staring at the battlefield through the giant window in front of him. His thick arms were crossed, and his metallic armor glinted under the control room's lights. His face was tight with frustration. "How are they doing this?" he growled. "We have the best ships, the best weapons, and yet they keep outsmarting us." The officers around him looked nervous. They didn't have any answers. The Drakari were attacking in ways they had never seen before. They would hit one area, then vanish, only to reappear somewhere else moments later. It was as if they could predict the Council's every move. Meanwhile, on the ground, things weren't much better. A planet called Zorio was under heavy attack by the Drakari forces. The Council had sent their elite troops to defend it, but the Drakari soldiers were fierce and unpredictable. They attacked in small groups, using the terrain to their advantage. They would hide in caves and forests, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Back in the Council's main command center, High Chancellor Zoreth was beginning to worry. She stood at a long table, surrounded by holographic displays showing the battle reports. Her tall, graceful figure seemed out of place in the middle of a war room, but her sharp mind was always focused. Reports of losses were pouring in from all sides, fleets destroyed, outposts overrun, planets captured. "How is this happening?" she asked, her voice calm but firm. "Our fleets should have overwhelmed them by now." A nervous aide stepped forward. "The Drakari are different, Chancellor. They don't fight like any enemy we've faced before. They seem to be using unconventional tactics. They hit us where we're weakest, then disappear before we can react." Zoreth frowned. She didn't like hearing this. The Council's fleets were known for their strength and precision. But now, they were losing, and they couldn't understand why. In the corner of the room, Commander Ellis stood quietly, watching the conversation unfold. As Earth's representative, he had been mostly ignored by the Council since the war began. They saw Earth as weak and unimportant, assigning them only small, unimportant roles in the conflict. But Ellis knew something the Council didn't. The way the Drakari fought, using hit-and-run attacks, ambushes, and surprise strikes, was something humanity had faced many times in its history. He had seen it in Earth's wars, and now it was playing out on a galactic scale. Finally, Ellis spoke up. "Chancellor," he said, stepping forward, "the Drakari are using guerrilla tactics. They're fighting in small groups, using speed and surprise to catch us off guard. If we keep trying to fight them head-on, we'll keep losing." The room fell silent. Zoreth looked at Ellis, her face unreadable. "And what do you suggest, Commander?" she asked. Ellis took a deep breath. He knew the Council didn't trust Earth's strategies, but he also knew they needed help. "We need to adapt," he said. "We can't rely on our technology alone. The Drakari are using the same kind of tactics that have been used on Earth for centuries. We've fought enemies like this before, enemies that are smaller and faster, but just as dangerous. We need to change the way we fight." Zoreth raised an eyebrow. "You think Earth can teach us how to win this war?" "I know we can. Ellis replied. "But we need to act quickly before it's too late." For a moment, the Chancellor said nothing. Then, slowly, she nodded. "Very well, Commander Ellis. We will consider your advice. But understand this. If your strategies fail, Earth will be held responsible." Ellis didn't flinch. He had expected nothing less. As he left the war room, he couldn't help but feel that the Council was running out of time. The Drakari were winning, and if the Council didn't change their tactics soon, the war would be lost. Earth's secret weapon. The Galactic Council was in trouble. The Drakari were outsmarting them at every turn, and their advanced fleets were losing ground. In the midst of this chaos, Earth had been given a minor role in the war. Most of the Council thought that Earth's military couldn't make a real difference. They were wrong. In a hidden base on Earth, deep beneath layers of rock and metal, a team of human strategists was working tirelessly. The base was called Fort Sentinel, and it was filled with monitors, maps, and holographic displays. In one of the control rooms, Captain Mason, a tall and serious man with a knack for strategy, was at the center of the action. Mason was Earth's best military mind. He had studied the Drakari's tactics and had come up with a plan to help turn the tide of the war. His team was small but skilled, composed of experts in various fields: tactics, intelligence, and technology. They had all been working around the clock, analyzing data and preparing for the next move. "All right, team," Mason said, his voice steady and confident. "We've been watching the Drakari closely. We know they use hit-and-run tactics and disappear before we can catch them. We need to adapt and fight them in a way they don't expect." One of his top analysts, Lieutenant Rodriguez, looked up from her screen. "Captain, the Drakari are using the terrain to their advantage. They hide in the mountains, forests, and even underground. They're not just fighting. They're living in their battlefield. If we want to beat them, we need to understand their environment." Mason nodded. "Exactly. We need to use their own tactics against them. We'll send small, highly trained units that can blend in with the terrain. They'll use stealth and speed to strike where the Drakari least expect it." The team worked quickly, preparing the special units that would go into battle. These soldiers were equipped with advanced camouflage gear that made them nearly invisible. They were trained in guerrilla warfare, capable of moving silently and striking swiftly. As the days passed, the Council's situation grew more desperate. Planets fell, fleets were destroyed, and the Drakari continued to press their advantage. The Council's leaders were starting to panic. They had tried everything, but nothing seemed to work. The enemy was always one step ahead. One evening, High Chancellor Zoreth received a message from Earth's base. It was a report from Captain Mason, detailing his new strategy. The Chancellor read the message with growing interest. The plan was daring and unconventional, but it promised to use the Drakari's own tactics against them. Zoreth summoned her top military advisors and read the message aloud. The advisors exchanged glances, some skeptical, others intrigued. "This is risky," one of them said. "What if it doesn't work? We've already lost so much." "Even if it's risky, we don't have many options left," Zoreth replied. "We need to try something different. If Earth's plan can help us win, we should give it a chance." The next day, the first of Earth's special units were deployed to the front lines. They moved quietly, blending in with the surroundings. They used the terrain to their advantage, setting traps and ambushing Drakari forces. The Drakari were caught off guard. For the first time, they were facing an enemy that fought like them, quick, clever, and unpredictable. In the control room at Fort Sentinel, Mason and his team watched the live feed of the battles. The Drakari forces were beginning to falter. The special units were making a significant impact, disrupting the Drakari's supply lines and hitting their command centers. The tide of the war was starting to shift. Commander Ellis, who had been closely following the progress, saw the results with a sense of satisfaction. He knew that Earth's strategies were finally proving their worth. The Council had been skeptical, But now they could see the effectiveness of human tactics. Back at the Council's command center, Zoreth received the latest battle reports. The numbers were impressive. The Drakari were losing ground, and the Council's fleets were starting to regain their footing. It was clear that Earth's plan was working. Zoreth looked out at the battlefield with renewed hope. The Council had underestimated Earth, but now they were seeing a new side of humanity, a side that could turn the tide in the most desperate of situations. As the battles continued, it became clear that Earth's secret weapon was not just its technology, but its ability to think outside the box and adapt to any challenge. The Drakari were no longer the unstoppable force they once seemed. The war was far from over, but humanity had finally made its mark. The first win. The war had been dragging on with no clear winner. The Galactic Council's fleets were battered, their forces disorganized, and their morale low. The Drakari had proven to be a formidable enemy, with their hit-and-run tactics causing chaos wherever they went. Earth's special units had started making a difference, but the true test of their strategy was yet to come. On the planet of Elysium, a key outpost on the edge of the war zone, the situation was critical. The Drakari had surrounded the planet, and their forces were closing in. The Galactic Council had managed to hold them off for weeks, but their defenses were weakening. The Council's leadership was desperate for a breakthrough. In the Council's command center, High Chancellor Zoreth reviewed the latest reports. The situation was dire. The Drakari were preparing for a final assault that could take the planet. The Chancellor knew they needed help, but they were running out of options. Commander Ellis, who had been monitoring the situation closely, saw an opportunity. "Chancellor," he said, stepping into the room, "our special units are ready. If you give us a chance, we can turn this battle around." Zoreth looked at him with a mixture of hope and skepticism. "You have one chance, Commander. If your plan fails, we'll lose Elysium, and Earth will be held responsible." Ellis nodded. He understood the stakes. "We'll take the lead. Our units are skilled at fighting in these conditions. We'll use the terrain to our advantage and hit the Drakari where they're weakest." The Chancellor agreed, and Earth's special units were deployed to Elysium. The soldiers moved swiftly and silently, using advanced camouflage to blend into the environment. They set up hidden positions and prepared to strike. As night fell, the Drakari began their assault. They moved in large numbers, confident that they would overwhelm the defenders. But Earth's special units were ready. From their hidden positions, they watched as the Drakari forces advanced. At the signal from Captain Mason, the special units sprang into action. They launched surprise attacks from multiple directions, hitting the Drakari's flanks and supply lines. The Drakari were caught off guard, their troops disoriented and confused. The coordinated strikes were swift and precise, disrupting their attack and causing chaos in their ranks. The defenders on Elysium, inspired by the unexpected support, rallied and fought back with renewed strength. The Drakari's advance was slowed as they struggled to deal with the new threat. Earth's special units continued to strike, using guerrilla tactics to keep the Drakari off balance. High Chancellor Zoreth watched the battle from the command center. She saw the reports coming in. Drakari forces were retreating, and the tide of the battle was shifting. For the first time in a long while, the Council had a reason to hope. After hours of fierce fighting, the Drakari began to pull back. Their forces were battered and disorganized, and their plans had been thrown into disarray. Earth's special units had delivered a decisive blow, and the defenders of Elysium had held their ground. As dawn broke, the battlefield was silent. The Drakari had retreated, leaving behind a scene of destruction. Earth's special units emerged from their positions, tired but victorious. They had achieved their first major win in the war, and it had come when it was needed the most. Commander Ellis and Captain Mason stood together, looking out over the battlefield. Ellis felt a sense of pride. The special units had proven their worth, and their tactics had made a real difference. The Council's skepticism had been replaced with respect. In the command center, Zoreth received the final reports. The Drakari were retreating, and Elysium had been saved. She turned to Ellis with a nod of approval. "You did it, Commander. Your strategy worked. We owe you a great debt." Ellis smiled, but he knew there was still much work to be done. The war was far from over, and there would be more battles to fight. But for now, the victory at Elysium was a sign that Earth's tactics could make a real impact. It was a turning point in the war, a first win that would change the course of the conflict. As the sun rose over Elysium, the Defenders and Earth's special units celebrated their hard-fought victory. The battle had been won, but the war was still raging. With newfound hope and determination, they prepared for the challenges ahead, knowing that their fight was far from over. From laughter to respect, the victory at Elysium had changed the tide of the war. The Galactic Council, once doubtful of Earth's capabilities, was beginning to see humanity in a new light. The battle had been a turning point, and the Council's leaders were starting to take Earth's strategies seriously. In the Council's grand meeting hall, the atmosphere was different. Where there had once been laughter and dismissal, there was now quiet respect and curiosity. The leaders from various species gathered for a crucial meeting, and Commander Ellis was among them. He had been invited to discuss the next steps in the war, and the Council wanted to hear his insights. High Chancellor Zoreth, who had previously been skeptical of Earth's role, stood at the front of the room. Her elegant, tall form was composed, but her eyes reflected a newfound respect. "Commander Ellis," she began, "your forces have achieved something remarkable. The victory at Elysium was not only a win for Earth, but also a significant boost for the Galactic Council's efforts. We need to understand how you did it and how we can apply your strategies to other battles." Ellis, dressed in his uniform, stood confidently before the assembled leaders. He had seen the change in attitude, and he was ready to share what Earth had learned. "Thank you, Chancellor," he said. "The victory at Elysium was the result of using tactics that focus on flexibility and surprise. We used guerrilla warfare, which relies on small, agile units to hit the enemy where they're least prepared." One of the council members, General Varrock of the Tevan species, who had once mocked Earth's strategies, spoke up. His deep voice was now more thoughtful. "Commander, I must admit, I was wrong about your tactics. The way your units operated was impressive. Can you explain more about how you plan to adapt these methods for future battles?" Ellis nodded. "Of course. Our approach involves understanding the enemy's weaknesses and exploiting them. For example, we study their movements and find patterns that we can disrupt. We also make use of the environment to our advantage. On Elysium, our units used the terrain to hide and launch surprise attacks." Captain Rylak of the Xarnan fleet, who had previously been dismissive, leaned forward with interest. "How do you ensure that your strategies remain effective against different types of enemies and environments?" Ellis responded, "Flexibility is key. We continuously gather intelligence and adjust our tactics based on what we learn. It's not just about having a plan, but being able to adapt that plan as the situation changes. The Drakari were a challenge, but we've learned valuable lessons that can be applied to other situations." The council members listened intently. The respect they had for Earth's tactics was growing. Zoreth spoke again, her tone showing genuine appreciation. "Your insights are valuable, Commander. We've seen how Earth's methods have made a difference. We need to integrate these strategies into our overall approach. What else can you tell us about how we can build on this success?" Ellis thought for a moment. "One important aspect is to keep improving our methods. The Drakari are unpredictable, and we must stay ahead of their tactics. Training our forces to be adaptable and encouraging them to think creatively will help us maintain an edge." The room was filled with murmurs of agreement. The Galactic Council had realized that Earth's tactics were not only useful, but also essential for the success of their campaigns. The laughter and mockery from before had been replaced by a deep respect for humanity's ability to contribute meaningfully to the war effort. As the meeting concluded, High Chancellor Zoreth addressed the room. "We have learned much from Earth's success. From now on, we will work together more closely. The strategies developed by Commander Ellis and his team will be a key part of our future plans. We appreciate the contribution of Earth and its forces. Ellis felt a sense of accomplishment. The journey from being laughed at to earning the respect of the Galactic Council had been challenging, but it was worth it. He knew that the war was still ongoing, and there were more battles to fight, but this moment marked a significant shift in the Council's attitude. As the leaders filed out of the meeting hall, Ellis couldn't help but reflect on the progress that had been made. The respect he had earned was not just for himself, but for all of humanity. It was a testament to the strength and resilience of Earth and its people. With renewed determination, Ellis and his team prepared for the next phase of the war. They had earned their place among the stars, and they were ready to continue their fight alongside the Galactic Council. The path ahead was uncertain, but one thing was clear. Earth had proven that it was a force to be reckoned with. The big battle. The war was reaching a critical point. After the victory at Elysium, the Galactic Council had gained new confidence. The next major battle was approaching, and this one would be decisive. The Drakari were preparing for an all-out assault on the Council's stronghold on the planet Arcturus, a strategic location that was vital for the defense of the galaxy. In the command center on Arcturus, High Chancellor Zoreth and her top advisors were making final preparations. The tension in the room was palpable. The Drakari had amassed a massive fleet, and their forces were closing in. The Council had no choice but to defend Arcturus at all costs. Commander Ellis, along with Captain Mason and their special units, was present for the planning session. The room was filled with holographic maps and battle plans. Zoreth addressed the group, her voice steady but serious. This battle will be the turning point of the war. If we lose Arcturus, we risk losing everything. We need to use every resource we have to repel the Drakari. Ellis nodded. Our special units will be crucial in this fight. We've already shown that we can disrupt Drakari operations. We need to focus on hitting their command ships and supply lines to weaken their attack. The plan was to create a multi-layered defense. The Council's fleets would engage the Drakari head-on, while Earth's special units would conduct stealth operations behind enemy lines. The goal was to create chaos and confusion among the Drakari forces, making it difficult for them to mount a coordinated assault. As the battle began, the skies over Arcturus erupted in flames. The Drakari fleet, massive and intimidating, approached the planet in a dark wave. Their ships were equipped with advanced weapons, and their strategy was to overwhelm the Council's defenses with sheer force. The Council's fleets, led by Admiral Creel, moved into position, ready to defend their ground. The space around Arcturus was filled with the flash of lasers and the roar of explosions. The Council's ships engaged the Drakari in fierce combat, their firepower clashing against the enemy's advanced technology. Meanwhile, Earth's special units moved silently through the chaos. Using their advanced camouflage, they infiltrated the Drakari fleet, avoiding direct confrontation. Their mission was to target key Drakari command ships and disrupt their communications. Captain Mason led one of the special units as they approached a heavily guarded Drakari command ship. The ship was a massive structure, filled with enemy officers and crucial control systems. Mason and his team worked quickly, planting explosives and setting traps. Their movements were precise and swift, avoiding detection as they carried out their mission. Back on the battlefield, the Council's forces were struggling to hold their ground. The Drakari were relentless, and their attacks were unyielding. Admiral Creel, aboard the Iron Claw, fought bravely but could see the toll the battle was taking on his fleet. Zoreth, watching the battle from the command center, knew that the special unit's success was critical. The battle was turning into a test of endurance and strategy. The Drakari were pushing hard, and the outcome was still uncertain. As the special units continued their sabotage operations, the tide began to turn. The Drakari command ship that Captain Mason's team had targeted exploded in a spectacular fireball, sending shockwaves through the enemy fleet. The explosion disrupted the Drakari's command structure, causing confusion and disarray among their ranks. With their communications in chaos, the Drakari struggled to coordinate their attacks. The Council's fleets, seizing the opportunity, pressed forward with renewed vigor. The battle turned into a fierce struggle, with both sides fighting desperately for control. Commander Ellis, watching the situation unfold, saw that their strategy was working. The Drakari were losing their edge, and the Council's forces were gaining the upper hand. The special units continued to strike from the shadows, ensuring that the Drakari couldn't regroup effectively. As the battle raged on, the Drakari fleet began to retreat. Their once formidable assault was now falling apart, and their ships pulled back from the fight. The Council's forces, though exhausted, had managed to hold their ground. In the command center, Zorath breathed a sigh of relief. The battle had been won, and Arcturus had been defended. The joint efforts of the Council's fleets and Earth's special units had turned the tide. The victory was hard-earned, but it marked a significant turning point in the war. As the last of the Drakari ships disappeared into the distance, Commander Ellis and his team stood together, looking out over the battlefield. The fight had been intense, but their combined efforts had made a crucial difference. The war was far from over, but this victory was a symbol of hope and determination. With the Drakari pushed back, the Galactic Council began to regroup and plan for the next phase of the conflict. The battle for Arcturus had been a testament to the strength and resilience of both the Council and Earth. As they prepared for what lay ahead, they knew that their alliance was stronger than ever. Earth's way of war. After the hard-fought victory at Arcturus, the Galactic Council was eager to learn more about Earth's methods of warfare. The Drakari had been pushed back, but the war was far from over. The Council needed to understand how Earth had managed to turn the tide and use these strategies to their advantage. In the Galactic Council's headquarters, High Chancellor Zorath called for a special meeting. The leaders of various species gathered once again, and this time, they were keen to hear from Commander Ellis and his team. They wanted to know more about the tactics that had proven so successful. Zorath addressed the assembly. Commander Ellis, your tactics have been impressive. We need to understand more about Earth's approach to war. What makes your methods effective, and how can we apply them to our broader strategy? Ellis, standing at the front of the room with Captain Mason and his key team members, nodded. He had been preparing for this moment. Thank you, Chancellor. Earth's way of war is built on adaptability and creativity. Our approach focuses on several key principles that have helped us succeed. He began to explain. First, we emphasize flexibility. In any conflict, the situation can change rapidly. Our forces are trained to adapt their tactics based on what they encounter. This means being able to switch from direct engagement to guerrilla warfare or sabotage as needed. One of the council members, Ambassador Lyra from the Alari species, asked, "How do you ensure that your forces can adapt so quickly?" Ellis replied, "Training is crucial. We regularly conduct drills and exercises that simulate various scenarios. This helps our soldiers and commanders think on their feet and respond effectively to unexpected challenges. We also encourage them to be innovative and come up with new ideas." Captain Mason added, "Another important aspect is intelligence. We gather as much information as possible about the enemy's movements, strengths, and weaknesses. This allows us to make informed decisions and plan our strategies accordingly." The council members listened attentively. They were beginning to appreciate the depth of Earth's approach to warfare. General Varrock, who had previously been skeptical, spoke up. "Your emphasis on intelligence and adaptability is impressive. How do you deal with the challenges of working with allies who may have different approaches or technologies?" Ellis responded, "Cooperation is key. We work closely with our allies to understand their strengths and limitations. We make sure that our plans take into account the capabilities of our partners and find ways to integrate our efforts effectively. Clear communication and joint training exercises help build trust and ensure that everyone is on the same page." Zorath nodded thoughtfully. "It seems that Earth's way of war is not just about tactics, but also about fostering strong alliances and adapting to the broader context of the conflict. How do you maintain morale and motivation among your forces during long and difficult campaigns? Ellis answered, maintaining morale is critical. We make sure to keep our forces informed about their progress and the importance of their mission. Recognizing their achievements and providing support during tough times helps keep their spirits high. It's also important to involve them in decision-making and give them a sense of ownership over their missions. The room was filled with murmurs of agreement. The council leaders were impressed by the thoroughness and thoughtfulness of Earth's approach. They could see how these principles could be applied to their own strategies. As the meeting concluded, Zorath addressed the assembly. We have learned much from Commander Ellis and his team. Earth's methods offer valuable insights into how we can improve our own strategies. We will integrate these ideas into our planning and work together to build a stronger alliance. Ellis and his team left the meeting feeling accomplished. Their insights had been well received, and they knew that their approach to war was making a significant impact. The Galactic Council was now more united and better prepared for the challenges ahead. With the knowledge gained from Earth's experience, the Council began to refine their strategies. The war was far from over, but the new approach promised to strengthen their efforts and improve their chances of success. Earth's way of war had not only earned respect, but had also become a key part of the Alliance's strategy. As the leaders went back to their duties, they were more hopeful than ever. The battle against the Drakari continued, but with Earth's methods integrated into their plans, they were ready to face whatever came next. The final battle. The war was reaching its climax. After many battles and hard-fought victories, the Galactic Council and Earth's forces were preparing for the final confrontation with the Drakari. The fate of the galaxy hung in the balance, and this battle would determine the outcome of the entire conflict. The scene was set on the war-torn planet of Seraphis, a crucial location that the Drakari had fortified heavily. The Council had gathered their strongest fleets and most skilled troops for the assault. Commander Ellis and Captain Mason, along with their special units, were once again at the forefront of the operation. In the command center, High Chancellor Zorath stood with a serious expression. The room was filled with holographic displays showing the Drakari's positions and the planned attack routes. The tension was palpable as the leaders discussed their strategy. Today is the day we end this war, Zorath declared. We must strike hard and fast. The Drakari's command structure is our primary target. If we can cripple their leadership, their forces will fall into disarray. Ellis and Mason nodded in agreement. We've studied their tactics and know their weaknesses, Ellis said. Our plan is to launch a coordinated attack that hits them from multiple angles. We'll use a combination of direct assault and sabotage to achieve our objectives. The plan involved a two-pronged attack. The Council's main fleet would engage the Drakari in a full-scale space battle, drawing their attention and resources. Meanwhile, Earth's special units would infiltrate the Drakari's stronghold on Seraphis to sabotage their command and control systems. As the battle began, the space around Seraphis erupted into chaos. The Council's fleet, led by Admiral Creel, moved into position and engaged the Drakari's forces. The sky was filled with laser fire and explosions as the two sides clashed in a dramatic display of power. On the surface of Seraphis, Ellis and Mason's special units prepared for their infiltration mission. They were equipped with advanced stealth technology and weapons designed for precision strikes. Their goal was to enter the heavily fortified Drakari command center and disable their control systems. The special units moved silently through the ruins of Seraphis, avoiding patrols and security measures. They reached the Drakari command center, a massive structure surrounded by layers of defenses. Using their training and technology, they bypassed the security systems and gained entry. Inside the command center, the team split into smaller groups. One group planted explosives in key areas, while another hacked into the Drakari's communication network. The goal was to create confusion and prevent the Drakari from coordinating their defenses effectively. As the sabotage operations unfolded, the battle in space reached a critical point. The Council's fleet was taking heavy losses, but their strategy was working. The Drakari were becoming more disorganized, and their focus was shifting to defending against the relentless attacks. The special units inside the command center worked quickly and efficiently. They set off the explosives at strategic locations, causing massive damage to the Drakari's infrastructure. The explosions disrupted their command structure and triggered alarms throughout the base. With their control systems in chaos, the Drakari's response was chaotic and uncoordinated. The Council's fleet took advantage of this disruption, pushing forward with renewed strength. The tide of the battle was turning in their favor. As the battle continued, Ellis and Mason's teams completed their sabotage mission and began their extraction. They had achieved their objectives, and the Drakari's command center was in ruins. The special units made their way back to the extraction point, avoiding the growing chaos around them. The Drakari, now struggling to cope with the loss of their command structure, began to falter. Their forces were in disarray, and their defenses were crumbling under the pressure of the Council's assault. The final battle was nearing its end. In the command center, Zorath watched as the Drakari's forces retreated. The victory was within reach, and the effort of both the Council's fleet and Earth's special units had paid off. The battle had been intense, but the combined strength of the Alliance had proven to be overwhelming. As the last of the Drakari ships withdrew, the command center erupted in cheers. The war was over, and the galaxy was safe. The final battle had been a testament to the power of unity and collaboration. Commander Ellis and Captain Mason, along with their special units, were hailed as heroes. Their bravery and strategic insight had played a crucial role in securing the victory. The Galactic Council expressed their deep gratitude and admiration for Earth's contribution. With the war concluded, the galaxy began the process of rebuilding and healing. The alliance between Earth and the Galactic Council had proven to be a formidable force, and their cooperation had led to a historic victory. As peace returned to the galaxy, Ellis and his team reflected on their journey. They had faced incredible challenges and emerged victorious. The final battle had marked the end of a long and difficult struggle, and the beginning of a new era of cooperation and hope. Earth's rise. With the final battle won and the Drakari forces driven away, the galaxy began to recover from the long and brutal conflict. The victory was celebrated across countless worlds, but one planet stood out for its remarkable transformation: Earth. In the aftermath of the war, Earth was no longer seen as a mere backwater planet. Its role in the conflict had shown the galaxy that humanity was a force to be reckoned with. The once skeptical Galactic Council now viewed Earth as a key ally and a vital player in the future of interstellar politics. High Chancellor Zorath, along with other leaders, visited Earth to officially recognize its contributions. The atmosphere was one of celebration and newfound respect. The streets of major cities were filled with people from various species, all coming together to honor Earth's role in the war effort. In Washington, D.C., a grand ceremony was held at the National Mall. The event was broadcast across the galaxy, showcasing Earth's rise to prominence. Commander Ellis, Captain Mason, and other key figures from the conflict were honored for their bravery and leadership. Zorath stood at the podium, addressing the gathered crowd. Today, we celebrate a new chapter in our history. Earth has shown the galaxy that it is more than just a planet. Through courage, ingenuity, and determination, humanity has earned its place among the stars. We are honored to call Earth a trusted ally. Ellis, standing beside Zorath, felt a deep sense of pride. The journey from being underestimated to becoming a pivotal force in the galaxy had been incredible. He reflected on the sacrifices and hard work that had led to this moment. As the ceremony continued, Earth's achievements were highlighted. The development of advanced technologies, the strategic innovations that had turned the tide of the war, and the resilience of its people were all celebrated. The galaxy was now keenly aware of Earth's capabilities and contributions. In addition to the ceremony, there were discussions about Earth's future role in the galaxy. The Galactic Council proposed a new alliance that would ensure continued cooperation and support. Earth's leaders were invited to join the Council as full members, giving them a voice in interstellar decisions. The proposal was met with enthusiasm on Earth. The opportunity to participate in the Council's decisions was seen as a significant step forward. It meant that Earth would have a direct influence on the future of the galaxy and would be involved in shaping interstellar policies and alliances. Back on Earth, preparations were underway to strengthen the planet's position in the galaxy. New diplomatic missions were established, and scientists and engineers worked on advancing technology and research. Earth was eager to contribute to the ongoing progress and cooperation in the galaxy. The war had brought humanity together in ways that had never been imagined. The shared experience of conflict had forged strong bonds between different nations and peoples on Earth. This unity was now being directed towards positive goals, such as exploration, innovation, and diplomacy. One of the key areas of focus was building stronger partnerships with other species. Earth's leaders worked closely with their galactic counterparts to foster understanding and collaboration. Joint projects, cultural exchanges, and research initiatives were launched to enhance relationships and promote mutual benefits. The rise of Earth was also reflected in its growing influence in trade and technology. The planet became a hub for interstellar commerce, and its advancements in various fields were sought after by many in the galaxy. Earth's contributions were now recognized and valued across different worlds. As Earth continued to rise in prominence, the sense of optimism and hope was palpable. The end of the war had not only marked the beginning of a new era for the galaxy, but also a new era for Earth. The planet's role in shaping the future was becoming increasingly significant. Commander Ellis and his team remained deeply involved in the ongoing efforts. They were dedicated to ensuring that Earth's rise was not just a fleeting moment, but a lasting legacy. Their experiences in the war had prepared them for the challenges and opportunities that lay ahead. The galaxy was entering a period of rebuilding and renewal, and Earth was at the forefront of this transformation. The planet had proven its worth, and its people were ready to embrace their role as leaders and innovators in the interstellar community. As the sun set over Earth, casting a golden glow across the planet, the future seemed bright. The journey from conflict to cooperation had been long and arduous, but it had led to a new beginning. Earth's rise was a testament to the strength and potential of humanity, and the galaxy was now united in its shared vision for a better future.